Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to start right off by saying I realize my normal audience of machine shop stuff probably doesn't care about this. So if that's you, feel free to just click on past this video. This is a public service video. So here's what I'm going to show you. This is a Suburban NT-16F. This is one of the three furnaces that's in our wanderlodge FT35 SB. And these things were, not a single one of the three was functional. Just everything from, I could hear one of them arcing out on the spark generator back on the board, to fans that wouldn't run, you just name it. Anyways, I was going to trash them. I decided I was getting new ones. And then the price got a little shocking. And I decided, after I did a bunch of reading, I discovered that the Suburban company, or now it's, what is it, Airxcel, has this kit that they call a module board adapter kit, this 521099. And this is a kit that gives you the new updated board, and I came across a little blip somewhere that said something about this board being reverse compatible to all previous Suburban furnaces, and that caught my attention. Now, what I ran into in a hurry is that if you go trying to find information on converting an NT-16F, you're going to run into brick walls all over the place. I couldn't find anything, so that's why I'm shooting this video. I took a gamble and bought the board, and then I'd found a little discussion of, you know, depending on if you got this model, you need this wiring harness, or this, you need that. Anyways, long and short of it is, here's the story. This thing has, from the factory, this relay right here. Sorry, my other phone is trying to wake up. Anyway, there we go. So it's got this relay. This is the fan control relay here. And the way it works is when the thermostat calls for heat, it turns the blower on, and the blower runs anytime there's a heat demand. Now, if the furnace doesn't light, okay, so then that's the other part you got to know. So it's got three safety or interlock devices, actually four. You've got a sail switch here, so that critter detects airflow. If that doesn't move, you won't get any, let's think about this. It will run the fan continuously without attempting to light. Down inside there, it's harder to see. There is a, might be able to see it from the top. Yeah, down in here. That's an over temperature switch. I believe it's a 140 degree switch, or 135 if this is an NT-16F. Or NT-12F. The NT-16F, I believe, is 145 degree, and the NT-12F is 135 degree. But at any rate, so it's got that. That shuts the unit down if it gets too hot. And then mounted on the side, they have this that they call the fan switch. And what this does is once the furnace is heated up, this clicks in at 190 degrees, and anytime this is over 190, it runs the blower. This particular furnace, the main problem with it was that this switch was junk and the fan would never shut off. As soon as you hook power up to it, it ran continuous. So anyways, I'm going to show you what the process is. Oh, and then one other thing, the wire is disconnected from it and poking out here right now because that's what I'm about to show you. But they have a flame detector with a wire that comes up to the board. And that's one of the biggest modifications you got to know about if you're switching one of these boards out. So here's the scoop. Here's the stuff you can start by just yanking off and throwing in the trash. Relay, fan control switch, because the new board controls all that. Because you're switching control of the fan from the relay to the board itself. So what you have here, you can see the wiring. I'll go through this step by step if I can be logical about it. Here's the wires for the fan. This orange wire used to go over and connect up with a wire that came off that relay. Now we have crimped a spade terminal on it. It plugs into the new board where it says blower. Then we have to intercept this top wire in your inlet plug, the red one. You've got to extend that. I don't know if you can see it, but I've spliced in and added wire onto it, and that's coming around here. It plugs in where it says power here on the spade terminal on the board. And then here's the biggest stuff. So over here, I've taken and you can see added a spade connector on the end of this pair of wires that used to come and plug in. They had a different connector on them. I think I might have thrown it in the box. Anyway, a lot of this stuff's got these connectors, and they plugged into the relay nice, but they don't plug into the connectors. So I chopped that off and put a more standard spade connector. I needed a male connector on so that I could plug it into this wire coming from the harness. And then this is what I'm about ready to do. This is the part where you got to watch your P's and Q's a little. This wire right here is the one that originally came from the flame detector. But in the new harness, if you order, you can get an aftermarket harness kit, not aftermarket, but a upgrade harness that does this, but there's no point in giving them 50 bucks because all you've got to do is that wire on the old board originally was in the second terminal down from the top. On this board, it needs to be moved to the bottom one, and then that wire, instead of going to a flame detector, is now going and getting connected into the thermostat wire. So these have a little release pin in them. And you're going to need, I mean, honestly, what you're really supposed to have is one of these, a terminal release tool, and you slip down in there and release the tab, and then you can yank that wire out. Got to be careful, if you bend the tab, it won't lock into the new position it needs to be in. But so you pull it out of that second from the top position and put it in the second from the bottom position. Once you do that, then this unit will fire up and function after it gets rerouted over here, and I'll show you guys. So this is the wire coming from the thermostat, and it needs to get power. This wire goes to the over temperature switch and the sail switch, and then this is the one that used to go to the flame detector that we're now going to be using as power supply to the board for thermostat command. So I'm going to get those cut, spliced, and bring you back and fire. All right, so we're back here. So you can see this blue wire is the thermostat command wire coming in from the wall thermostat. This brown wire goes in series through the over temperature switch and the sail switch. So the over temperature switch is a normally closed switch that breaks the circuit if it gets too hot. Sail switch is normally open and only closes if it detects blower airflow. So anyways, so that has to get power, and then it finds its way through to the board. It connects in, I remember, the brown wire coming into the board is the one that's coming through from that circuit. And then the wire that I mentioned before from the flame sensor that used to be in the second position from the top, and we've moved to the second position from the bottom, we're now hooking in over here along with those, that whenever there's a call, the thermostat is just closing the circuit and providing 12 volts on this blue wire. And it has to see 12 volts through those two safeties and through whatever wire is connected to the second terminal from the bottom here in order for this board to engage. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the power on right now. I've got the gas turned on. I'm laying this board on top of it just so that the air from the fan is forced to go through the heater or the heat exchanger. I don't want to overheat it. Any rate, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to power it up, but not call, like right now, I realize it's kind of honky, you see wires everywhere, but this is my thermostat switch. It has to get connected to 12 volts. So right now, here we are, power on, the board is powered, but nothing is turned on because we don't have a call for heat from the thermostat. So now we'll plug in, this would be the effective equivalent of, lost my power wire. When you got a high-class system like this rigged up, here's what we're going to do. I'll go ahead and hook these up and then turn power on with it all connected. All right, there we are. So now power comes on. All right, heard the blower come on. It'll run a purge cycle to make sure there's no residual gas in there. And then you'll hear the igniter kick in. There it is. And the igniter just kicked back out. I don't know if you can see it in there, but the flame lit. It's pretty bright out here, so the camera's probably not picking it up. So just like that, she's off and cruising. We'll see. Oh yeah, she's heating up, starting to get some warm air out of it already. So right there, that's all there is to it. The furnace is running, she's making heat. And, yeah. Now, one thing that I am uncertain of, that I'm just guessing at, to be honest with you all, is I don't know how this one is detecting the flame at this point, because this was flame sensor, and now we're not using it, it's disconnected. I'm assuming that this one somehow does flame detection through the line that's for the igniter. I don't know how else to explain it, because I've checked it. If you shut the gas off so the flame goes out, it knows it's out, because that was one of my concerns, was whether I had an unsafe operating condition here. But if you shut the gas off, flame goes out, it goes through 3 restart attempts and then shuts itself down just like it's supposed to. So I'm assuming it's got to be detecting it through that line, seeing as I unhooked the only other one that was going to the burner assembly. Anyway, there you have it, folks. So for depending on where you find them, I found these new old stock on eBay and had like 40 bucks a piece in them. So literally to get this thing converted over to fan control, which is more power efficient, modern control board, I've got 40 bucks a piece into 4 furnaces, and we're going to be off and cruising. So hopefully that's helpful to somebody else out there. I'm just posting this video because I couldn't find any good information on this when I was trying to figure it out. Hi there, buddy. So I'm going to show you guys the process for converting one of these Suburban early NT-12, I can say the 12F, NT-12F and the NT-16F over to the modern fan control board. And I'll go over it more in some further videos, but this is one that I haven't touched yet. This has got the original board on it, and you can see the only wires connected to this are 4 wires here and the igniter wire. And I'll quick go through the function of these just so everybody knows what they all are. So red is power, brown is the wire coming through the over temperature switch and the sail switch. Both of those switches have to be closed in order for it to run. And then this wire second from the top is a wire that comes from over here on the flame sensor. And then the yellow wire is the ground wire on this board. So at any rate, the power connector, if you want to call it that, we have 3 wires coming in. We've got power, ground, and then this is the signal wire coming in from the thermostat. And then outside of this plug, there's a jumper that goes between the power and the other wire going to the thermostat. So what happens is there's always 12-volt power on the red and the yellow. So positive red, negative yellow. And then whenever there's a call for heat, you've got positive 12 volts on this blue wire. And where that positive 12 volts on the blue wire goes is to this relay. And what that relay does is, let's see here, energizes power to the board, and also, let's see here, I might be getting my wires crossed on that one. I better think about that. I can't say if it's always hot to the board or not. I don't remember, but I believe hot to the board happens, yeah, I'm quite confident of that. That power to the board happens through the relay. That basically, this relay trips in, starts the blower, puts power to the board, and then the board attempts a start cycle, and if it does not detect a flame here with the flame sensor, then the blower continues to run and the furnace doesn't light. And that's why these things are such a pain in the butt, is if anything goes wrong and they don't light, they just sit there and run your battery flat. So that's one of the main reasons for wanting to switch this over to what they call the fan control board, because then it's switching control of the fan over the board. So you'll see in the next videos, we get to throw this away. We also get to throw away this fan control relay, because that's its cool down relay that kicks the fan in anytime this is above 190 degrees. And then we will be disconnecting the flame detector wire and repurposing it somewhere else. But anyway, I just wanted you guys to get to see what one of these looks like before it's been tampered with. So there's one other thing that I got to mention as part of this process. So when you get this board, they're assuming that you might be retrofitting it into some other model. It comes with this little tabs. They say you have to mount it from 2 points. And the original board mounted here and here. This board is much smaller than the original. Their little remounting tab isn't nearly big enough, so you're going to have to make yourself, I had a piece of aluminum that I cut, and then those holes, you need a hunk of something with holes 1 1/8 apart. And then that will give you the right spacing, roughly. I mean, you can see I'm a little bit cockeyed because I think my drill wandered a bit. But at any rate, if you're approximately 1 1/8 center to center on some little tab that's the equivalent of that, that gives you everything you need to mount it up. So if you get that and this one modification on the wiring harness, you're off and cruising. So this second wire down from the top, the one that's the high temperature braided one, is the one that has to move from there to second from the bottom. And if you look, see the side that's got the little notch in it? You got to get in there with a release tool like this one. I don't have a good way to do it and let you guys watch, I don't think. We'll see. Maybe I can get this thing to prop up. No. I got any good where to prop it up. I'll have to do it off camera, but that's what I was talking about on the other video. You got to get slid in there, and it's a little lock tab. It helps to push in on the wire a little bit to start with to get it released, because if you have tension on the locking tab, then this will be too weak to release it. But I'll get her popped out and show it. I realized that what I said earlier sounded confusing as I was showing it from the back side, but you got to get in the front side with the release tool like this, and get some pressure on it, get that little lock tab released. All right, I don't know if it's showing up, but you can see the little tiny tab on the back side of this thing. That's what you're trying to press in so that you can get this popped out of here. And then you can literally just take it and move it over. It's got to go in the slot next to the red wire. See if I can do this one-handed. They go in pretty easy, but even pretty easy one-handed is a bit of a tough call. Just got to get it in there aiming the right direction. Actually, I got to untangle these wires a bit, so there we are. Alright, I'll do this off camera. Alright, I got it started in there. And then you got to push it in until it latches. Alright, sorry I just couldn't do that on camera, but you can see looking in there now, it's in position, locked into place. You can give it a little tug, but like I say, don't yank on these very hard because those little terminals, that little locking tab likes to get busted or bent over, and then you're screwed because then it won't lock in place anymore. So anyway, so we're pretty well off and cruising with this now. It's just time to pull this relay out, ditch it, do a couple modifications to the wiring harness, and we're ready to put this furnace back together.